Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, it's Pearl versus Marina and the rest of your Nintendo news for the week of July 11th, 2017. It's dangerous to go alone, especially if you're Pearl, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellis, joined as always by my co-host Mark Mitchell. Mark, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm also doing good. I'm feeling good. It's not late. It's nighttime.
I mean, it's pretty late.
Sure, if there was a baby who was out at this time, I would say, baby?
Yeah, you'd be like, where are your parents?
Yeah, where are your parents,
Shouldn't
baby?
you be at home?
Shouldn't you be in the crib, sleeping it off? You've had a long, hard day.
I have a confession to make. I ate a whole pizza today at lunch.
What size pizza are we talking about here?
I would say it would be like approximately the size of a medium pizza.
Okay, so if it were like normal people with normal appetites, how many of them would be needed to eat this thing for lunch, dinner?
Like 2 or 3, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So not like unreasonable.
Right. Yeah, right. You're not doing any like Guinness World Records.
Yeah.
But you are eating a lot of pizza.
Yeah. So I feel disgusting, but full.
I'm sure my line of questioning does nothing to help you feel not disgusting. I apologize. Weather report today, it's too hot.
It's so hot.
Too hot.
Much too hot.
It's been too hot in LA this week. Feel like that was our report for last week as well.
Yeah, but last week we didn't feel it. This week we really mean it when we say it.
Last week, lies. Where's our guest weather?
Oh, our guest weather for this week is from Perth, Australia.
Great.
Where I guess it's wintertime because it's a lovely time to be in Perth. I would much rather be in Perth than LA. In Perth, it's in the mid 60s all week.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
And what are we talking about humidity?
That's a great question. Well, when I looked it up, humidity was 39%. So pretty humid.
Right. And that's about what we're rocking right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the 30 to 40 range.
Oh, I don't understand how humidity works.
I mean, I don't really either. But I know how numbers work. And numbers that I recognize that are near other numbers that I recognize, that's what's happening right here. 39 is near 40. Mark, what have you been playing this week?
Still working my way through Breath of the Wild DLC a little bit.
Yeah, me too. What have you been doing in it?
Mostly just wearing the Korok mask and running around in areas I've never been to before.
Yeah, using the hero's path to get you there. Have you so you didn't do too many Koroks in your original playthrough, right?
No, I think I ended I want to say somewhere definitely sub 100, maybe 80 around there.
I feel like 80 is still kind of respectable.
Out of 900.
Well, I know, but I feel like I've been working on Korok seeds the entire time, and I have sub 200. I mean, they're everywhere, and the map is enormous. So it's a lot of ground to cover.
But wearing the mask, I'm definitely picking them up at a greater rate.
Mm-hmm.
Because I go over to somewhere where I'm pretty sure there's a Korok seed here. And the mask either starts shaking and giggling or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then you're that's just weird that there's 2 trees out here in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Or oh, this top of this mountain was difficult to climb to.
And there's nothing here.
There's no reward. It's weird. I've been doing a lot of aimless running around. Sometimes with the Korok mask, sometimes not. And I don't really know why I'm doing this. I think just to continue to fill in space on the map that I haven't visited. I got the second chunk of Master Sword power up.
Oh, wow, nice.
And I did not have to attempt the middle portion of that nearly as many times as the first.
So I haven't gone back since we talked about it last week because that Guardian is scaring me. Did you not find it that challenging?
I had bomb arrows.
You had... Oh.
And also, even without bomb arrows, It's because the first guardian that you encounter is a stationary one, right? Like its legs are busted, and there's a constant updraft, so you're basically always approaching it from in the air, and so you can just shoot it in the eye with an arrow anytime it starts to get too close to being able to shoot you, and that makes its head spin around. Then you can wail on it for a little bit, and then jump back up into the air, shoot it in the eye, repeat.
I think I'm being way too precious with resources.
You gotta, I mean, arrows especially. The Trial of the Sword gives you so many arrows in both the first third and middle third. I finished with like 90 arrows, 90 regular arrows, and then like a bunch of special arrows on top of that. But yeah, I think you have to use the resources that the game gives you and not like try to bomb everything to death.
Yeah, I try to like hoard everything.
Yeah.
And I did that in the first round and just ended with so much more like swords and things that I never used.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the trick is really just use all of that stuff for sure.
I've also been going through my second playthrough of Cave Story.
Yeah.
On the Switch, and I've been using, so in the game, it's not really spoilers to say this, but you get like an item that will show you a small mini map when you like equip it.
Okay.
And it's not like so basically it's like you pull it up in your menu, you glance at it, and then you have to close out of it. You can't have it always there.
Sure.
And the first time I didn't use it that often the first playthrough, but the second playthrough I've been using it a lot more, and that's because there's a lot of hidden like areas and items that I missed the first time because I never pulled up the map, and that's the only way you could. Some of them, it's like, oh, unless you look at the map, you wouldn't know that that's not a ceiling. It's like you can get up in there. So, man, I'm like 15 years late to it because like maybe like 10 years late to it at this point.
Right.
The Cave Story is awesome. I'm really enjoying it, even my second time through, and I don't usually like to replay games that much.
Well, I'm in need of a game I'm going to Chicago tomorrow, and I'm in need of a game to play on the plane. You think Cave Story is a good candidate for that?
I think you would really like it.
Okay. Well, that's what we've been playing this last week. Oh, no, Mark, you've also been messing around a little bit with the Splatoon 2 Splatfest demo.
Oh, yeah. So there's not a whole lot to do in it. There's not like really gameplay-wise. But when you can download the Splatoon 2 Splatfest demo now from the eShop. Spoiler alert for the news section. There's a Splatoon 2 Splatfest coming.
Mark, don't ruin it.
But so yeah, when you boot it up, you can like create a character, and then you can run around in like the hub city, and you meet Pearl and you meet Pearl and Marina, and you can go to the different shops, and people will talk to you. But you have to be like, they're like, come back when you're level 1 or come back when you're level 4. So you can't do anything yet.
Right.
But you can just kind of like exist in the world and chill out a little bit. So I've just been running around in there.
That's great. I didn't realize that like it was, I assumed it would be just like the test fire thing where it's just like,
nothing's happening right now. Yeah. It's, man, I'm so excited for Splatoon 2. I really can't wait.
We will get to that. Again, spoilers for the news section. We've got a lot of Splatoon to talk about. Anyway, that's what we've been playing this last week. Let's move into the new releases and talk about what we might be playing this week.
So tomorrow, on July 12th, Max Brass, the boss from ARMS, will be available as the first new playable character.
That'll be fun. New characters in a fighting game always mixes up everything. Have not been playing a bunch of ARMS.
Yeah, it seems like the sort of game that has its audience, and I don't think it's a bad game, but it doesn't feel like it's really like breaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way Splatoon did on the Wii U.
Yeah, I think that's right.
On Thursday, July 13th, there's a couple new releases. On the Wii U eShop is a game called Box Up. The 3DS eShop has As Divine Cross. And then on the Switch eShop, there's Death Squared. Demambo for real is coming out. I think this is the third week in a row that
we... Are we sure?
Yes, like their official Twitter account tweeted it and everything. It's interesting to me how fluid these indie release dates are.
Yeah, it seems very strange.
Like, because it came out in Japan the week that we said it was going to come out. So I just don't understand it. I don't know if it's like a marketing thing, like Nintendo is like, we have too many this week. If it's like last minute certification stuff.
Surely not marketing, because it's not like this is being marketed in any way, shape, or form unless you're following Demambo's official Twitter account.
Yeah.
Or listening to us, I guess.
Right. So, I don't really understand what's going on there, because it seems to happen all the time where there's a definitive release date and then that date passes and it's just kind of like, oops.
Maybe you'll never play Pocket Rumble.
But we're not bitter. And then the Neo Geo game for the week is Fatal Fury Special.
There are so many of these games, Mark. I don't have a handle on whether I should be excited about Fatal Fury or not.
I have no idea either. And then, of course, on July 15th, which is Saturday, the Splatoon 2 pre-release Splatfest, which you can download now, will be playable. I don't know if it's all day or if it's just a specific chunk of time.
It is from 3 until 7 Pacific time.
Okay.
So it is actually a pretty narrow window. Splatfests are usually all weekend, but this one is just for 4 hours. And so anyone can download and play this thing for free. It sounds like there's a little bit of functionality already. You can run around Inkopolis and not buy stuff from the vendors. But if you're interested in Splatoon 2 and didn't play Splatoon 1, like, definitely get in and try to play some of the Splatfests. Splatfests are super fun, and like it's weird because what I really liked about Splatfest is that it made everything a little bit different. Like there are like billboards that are like keeping track of the scores between like the two teams, and like there are different lights in the city square.
Why don't you explain what a Splatfest is?
Sure. So at the beginning of a Splatfest, you pick one side of an arbitrary this versus this.
So for this pre-release Splatfest in the US and Europe, it's you either choose Team Cake or Team Ice Cream.
That's right.
And then in Japan, it's rock versus pop music.
Right. And usually like that's how the split goes, that it's like you're making a more or less arbitrary decision, like I guess
cats or dogs more.
Right. I mean, the obvious correct answer for that is dogs.
Mm-hmm.
There's no...
I mean, all of these have correct answers.
Well, so here's the thing.
Especially when they assign them to, like, mascots.
Well, so, yes. Maybe we should save our discussion of Pearl and Marina for our discussion of the Direct. But so the game will keep track of when you're just doing normal turf wars against people who pick the opposite thing. So if Mark picks ice cream and I pick cake, then we're always going to be on opposite teams. And at the end of the weekend, or 4-hour period as this Splatfest is, it decides who's the winner and who's the loser based on I forget if it's actually there are multiple dimensions of it here. So it's like the total like space inked, and also like number of matches won. And there are a couple other things too. Like I think you get more points if you're on the minority team. So like if 70% of people were on Team Cake and 30% of people were on Team Ice Cream, you get a couple points for just being on Team Ice Cream. And then in the original Splatoon, you were awarded special items that helped you unlock different changes to your equipment, like different buffs. And I don't know what the system is going to be here, but you'll be rewarded with something worth being like it'll be something good. And it's always it's just a fun way to like inject new life into the game.
Yeah, so that's this July 15th, this Saturday, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific time.
That's right. Right when I'm at my friend Taylor's wedding. I'll be in Chicago, so that'll be from 5 o'clock until 9. And I'm sure...
Yeah, you won't be playing.
I'm sure I should be paying attention to that. Taylor recently got a Switch, so maybe I can pull him away from his own wedding for the...
Oh, yeah, that sounds super like a thing that'll happen.
Hey. All right, Mark, let's move out of the new releases. It's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, you wanted to talk about candy bars.
Mm-hmm.
And you said specifically that you wanted to talk about Snickers.
Yeah. I feel like Snickers is the best candy bar.
I will agree with that.
Candy bars perfected.
Yes, it is the, like, if you know, Snickers has that ad campaign, that ad campaign where they're like,
are you on Oh Hello?
yes, cocaine. That like hungry, have a Snickers, and like that's legit. That there's no other candy bar that I can be hungry, eat, and then feel full, or not full, but like satisfied in some way. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Snickers stands alone in that regard.
I mean, let's like break it down. Milky Way,
right?
Basically just Snickers without the peanuts, right?
Yes.
So that's no go. Where's my protein?
It's also the amount of caramel in a Milky Way.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much.
Too much caramel.
It's out of control.
Okay, see, I'm a big caramel booster, so I'm fine with the amount of caramel in Milky Ways.
Oh, for me, it's too much. It's too sticky.
Oh, sure.
So like the inside of it, it's like a borderline Butterfinger with the amount of candy goo that's getting stuck in your teeth.
Three Musketeers.
Mm-hmm.
Again, now we're just removing the caramel,
right?
And it's basically just nougat. Is that what's remaining?
Yeah, it's like fluffed up marshmallow nougat. I will respect the Three Musketeers for its simplicity.
Okay.
It is basically a tube of nougat covered in chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Simple, elegant. I'd still rather have the Snickers.
Yes.
But I can respect it.
See, in my order would go Three Musketeers at the bottom.
Okay.
Of the three. Of the Trinity.
Right.
Three Musketeers at the bottom.
Holy Ghost.
Uh-huh. Because the Trinity is a ranking, right. Of course. Right. The Milky Way in the middle.
Christ.
Uh-huh. And then Snickers at the top.
The Lord your God.
Yes.
Right.
And yeah, and that makes sense to me. It's like, ooh, we're adding a little bit of goodness in each one.
So I mentioned Butterfingers.
Oh, right. Gross, right out.
Gross, right out.
Mm-hmm.
I like the flavor of Butterfingers, but I can't with the stuck in the teeth.
What's your stance on Butterfinger BBs?
I mean, other than no one had better lay a finger upon them.
Yes.
Do they still make Butterfinger BBs?
I don't know.
She's so timid. I don't know.
I'm not sure if they do or not. Well, and that's, I partly feel bad about that because I love candy.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if anybody in this room that it consists of you and I,
right,
should know whether they make Butterfinger BBs anymore, I feel like it'd be me. I want to say they don't.
If you know whether or not they make Butterfinger BBs, you can write to us at NintendoCartridgeSociety
at gmail.com.
I like, generally speaking, handfuls of like a candy reduced down to its grab it by the handfulness. I like Bunch of Crunch is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I like Crunch bars as well. So like I'll take that crispy rice covered in chocolate.
Crunch bars are fine. They're the best in those like packages that you can get of just like assorted fun-size candy bars.
The like Halloween
not even fun-size, like mini candy bars. Let's cut to the quick. Are Reese's Peanut Butter Cups candy bars? I feel definitely not.
Okay, yeah, I will agree.
But are they good? And I think yes.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Have you had the Butterfinger peanut butter cups?
I don't think I have. I don't love the
Butterfinger flavor.
Whatever is inside Butterfingers, yes.
Right. And what is that?
I don't know. Well, that's what I like about candy bars is a lot of times they're not chocolate. They're chocolate-y because they're missing cocoa. And that's an ingredient that has to exist in chocolate in order for it to actually be called chocolate.
What about Twix?
Mm.
Is it a candy bar?
Yes, I think it makes the definition. How about you?
I don't know. There's something about there being two of them.
Well,
feels less bar-like to me.
Okay.
They're more like sticks.
That's true. But yeah, that's true. Okay. All right. I can get behind that. Are they called Twix because there's 2 of them, 2 sticks. That has to be it, right?
Right. So they're candy sticks.
Yeah, okay.
We've decided this. What about a Kit Kat? Is that a candy bar or is that like a slab of candy?
Oh. Well,
A slate of candy.
it's like, it is kind of like a slate of candy and tastes approximately like that.
Mm-hmm.
Kit Kats are one of those candies that I don't think are good, but we eat them because we had them as children.
Absolutely. And that's probably true of most of these.
Except for Snickers, which are delicious on its own merits.
Absolutely.
Candy perfected.
Well, that's very good. That's probably the cleanest conclusion we've ever come to on a 433.
Yeah, we actually knew.
Yeah, we knew. We knew it all. We were accompanied today by the Brussels Chamber Choir. Thank you, Brussels Chamber Choir. Mark, let's move into the news.
So let's start with the Splatoon 2 Direct from last Thursday.
To the extent that we've not already started with it.
Yeah, so this will be a little... I mean, there was a lot of information
Yeah, there was.
in this. A lot of it's fairly specific, like names of new items and things I don't really know that we need to go over to in fine detail. But so basically the Direct showed off a handful of stages, some returning from the original game like Moray Towers and Port Mackerel, and some new ones.
So we were able to play Moray Towers in the test fire, but it's nice to see Port Mackerel back.
And Nintendo also announced that it is kind of the big news is that it's planning to support the game with free content such as stages, weapons, and other gear for a full year following its release, and Splatfest for at least 2 years after launch.
And that's great. Again, playing this Splatfest before release will be fun, but I don't think we'll really get the full like effect of, what it is to be playing something like a little bit different, a little bit special version of the game that we've already been playing. It's such a cool way to invite people back without being like a double XP weekend or whatever.
There are also going to be a bunch of new weapons and sub-weapons and special weapons, of course. I'm excited about the Flingza roller. It's because I like the roller.
Yeah.
And it has like a little more range when you flick it.
Yeah, that when you flick it vertically, when you're like jumping, yeah, it seems like it's got like a little bit more versatility to it than just your standard roller. There's one of these, I forget if it's the Goo Tuber or the Clash Blaster. I'm just reading the names of these weapons off of our notes. But one of them is the charge shot, which is like a sniper. Where it can hold a charge while you're traveling through ink, which is not something that was in the original Splatoon, and kept me from using the charge shots at all. So it's like having a kind of weapon that I wasn't interested in using before kind of unlocked for me.
There's a special weapon called the Baller, which you kind of like, you can roll up walls in a little ball that explodes.
Yep.
And that looks like a lot of fun too.
Also, something that was pointed out in the Direct that I hadn't noticed in the test fire is that all of the special weapons in Splatoon 2 are new. They're not repeating anything from the original game.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't play enough of the original Splatoon to notice, but that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know what if I was just like, oh, everything I'm selecting is new. It's because it's all new.
Salmon Run looks like it's going to have lots of different enemy varieties, but it also looks like it's not going to always be available for ranked play.
Which is a very Splatoon thing.
Yeah.
Like Splatoon functions for all of its multiplayer content, which is like all of it, right? On weird time release schedules that maps are only available for a couple hours at a time, and even different modes within ranked mode or different like gameplay matches within ranked mode are available for a couple hours at a time. So like it's a little frustrating, but I don't know. I do like the specialness of it.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but one thing that has the potential to make it fun is everybody will be playing those things.
Yes,
and you don't split the user base as much as you do in something like Call of Duty. Where it's like, here's like 15 different modes you can do.
Right, yeah. So basically you'll hop on, see what can I play tonight, and then play that. Also, if you want to play any of the maps in local multiplayer or Salmon Run in local multiplayer without like the rank stuff, you can do that on like a local network. So there's even that nice little like workaround for it.
Of course, kind of the biggest news, at least the
Insane.
bomb that dropped on the
Insane.
internet, was the new pop icons to replace Callie and Marie, Pearl and Marina.
Okay, so everyone loves Marina.
Mm-hmm.
She's great, right? She's got a lot of attitude. She's cool. No one cares about Pearl.
And Pearl's design is really interesting
Uh-huh.
in that it's not particularly cute.
Sure.
She kind of has fangs, like she's a little like angry.
Yeah, I mean that's not inconsistent with Callie and Mari though. Like
No, that's very true. Well, okay, so Callie and Mari were squidlings, right?
Inklings.
Inklings.
Yeah.
And Pearl and Marina appear to be octopi.
They are.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So they're definitely different in that regard. But just in general, the amount that the internet loves Marina
Hilarious.
and does not care at all, and that like apathy is also a little bit of loathing towards Pearl,
yeah.
is really funny to me. And that's why this pre-release Splatfest, where it's cake versus ice cream, I'm pretty sure Pearl is cake.
Oh, sorry.
And Marina is ice cream, and so it could not be more divided
right
along pop icon lines.
So they got to stop doing that too, because also the rock versus pop, Pearl is rock and Marina is pop, and like everyone's gonna go for pop. Yeah, there was the final Splatfest in the original Splatoon was Callie versus Mari, which feeds into like the mythology of the single player of this game. But like I don't think you can do that with these characters, because it's just like, oh, 98% Marina, 2% Pearl.
She's definitely Splatoon's Twintel.
100%. 100% she's Splatoon's Twintel. If you're not familiar with what like the pop icon, because this is a weird concept, right? They introduce which stages are available and generally act as hosts for the sort of meta game that is Splatoon.
Yeah, like it seems like in the world of Splatoon, they are media personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are like pop stars or pop icons.
Right, but in addition to like the characters in the game having a relationship with them, the player will have that same sort of relationship, because they talk to you, they talk to Mark, the player, telling you what's available, when stuff's changing.
Kill your family.
Listen to the dog.
Speaking of which, what's the name of the big fat cat thing?
Oh, I think his name is Biggs.
Whatever it is, I love that thing.
Yeah, he
and
keeps
then there's
score.
The little one. Yeah, there's the tiny big fat cat.
Right.
Those things are great.
Splatoon's got some of the best character designs. In that like perfectly Nintendo, almost too dumb to be real kind of way. Yeah, and I think Pearl and Marina like typify that and are perfect examples of what they're doing so well here.
Now, also coming with Splatoon 2 on July 21st is Splatnet 2, which is the first rollout of Nintendo's online app for your smartphone, for your smart devices. And I kind of called this one, where it is only going to work with Splatoon 2 at launch.
Yeah. A little bit frustrating, but I mean, the idea is that the app that it's running out of is actually the Nintendo Switch Online app, and like Splatnet 2 is part of that app.
Gotcha. It's like an app within the app.
I guess so, yeah. And it seems like there's room for there to be apps for other, or apps within the app.
Yeah.
For other games.
And I'm sure that is coming down the line, but this is not going to work with ARMS. It's not going to work with Mario Kart. It's not going to work with anything that's already come out or anything that will be coming out in the next few months that has online.
Right. Even though those other games badly need it.
So the Switch Online app is, of course, for your smart device. It allows you to make matches and run voice chat while also keeping track of your character's loadouts and other universal stats like lifetime area inked. It does seem like in order to, there's some of this functionality that will be built into the Switch, or like that will be built into Splatoon 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you'll be able to kind of do what you do in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where you can join a lobby and things like that, but you're not going to be able to voice chat. You're not going to be able to do any of that stuff
without the app.
Mm-hmm. I don't even think you're going to be able to make like parties or anything like that.
Yeah.
Without the app.
Well, you can do. Well, that's a good question. Yeah, because the party making is it is interesting in that like you can either approach it as like a solo agent or like paired up with someone, and then it'll put you in a group with 2 other people. But yeah, it's not totally clear to me whether that happens with the app or without it.
Well, and part of this is just me not fully this is with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. If you're online and I'm online, how do we like?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I do not know.
So if this is how Nintendo's, the thing that is unclear to me is if every game is going to need to have its own Splatnet type app within an app,
mm-hmm.
or if there is general online functionality within the Nintendo Switch Online smartphone app, right? Like,
yeah, that's a great question.
Is it going to be incumbent on third parties to make these like special interfaces for their games?
Like a nightmare.
Or is Splatnet just like an interesting way that Nintendo is choosing to do for their first party game, but not necessary? That still remains unclear.
Yeah. Well, and it could well be that there's like a special thing for Splatnet, and then like everyone else is just gonna get like a regular voice chat app.
Yeah, that could be true, because again, this is, who knows, even though this is what Splatnet is like for Splatoon 2, that doesn't really necessarily give us a good indication of what the Nintendo Online app is going to look like and work with any other game.
Yeah, still totally mysterious.
So cool.
Cool. We'll talk more about it in 2 weeks.
Last week we talked a little bit about the upcoming second DLC pack for Breath of the Wild, the Champions,
the
Ballad of the Champions.
Ballad of the Champions, I think.
So I was speculating that it'd be a prequel and that we'd be able to play as Zelda and the Champions in the story mode content. I am debugging myself because that is not the case.
Here's the thing. You're not just debugging yourself. You're debugging the internet that was like, surely you play as the Champions.
There was a little bit of video of like development video released, and Aonuma disclosed that you play as Link, and from the little bit of video we saw, it appears to take place after the main story because we see some shrines, which wouldn't be in the past,
right?
Because they were all not there, and so maybe you're gathering new champions. That's my new speculation I'm putting out there to be shot down in a couple of weeks.
Well, someone get a hold of Aonuma and let him know that what Mark thinks is going on,
so we can change it.
Yeah. But we do know that it's story based, so like,
and I mean, not all. I mean, that's part of it.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
I think there will be other stuff. Probably armor.
I think, isn't there supposed to be a new dungeon or
for sure.
All very interesting stuff, especially now that we know what the dungeons are. Like in the pre-release time when we're like, oh, new dungeon, cool. Now I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
Well, I think last episode you were like, yeah, maybe there's another divine beast that we haven't encountered yet.
Yeah, that's right.
I laughed you out of the room. I was like, another divine beast? That couldn't be more stupid. And that's probably what it's going to be.
Yes! Let's talk to Aonuma about that.
Coming out of E3, Paste published an interview with Doug Bowser, the fortuitously named head of marketing at Nintendo of America. Much of the discussion focused on the handheld market. Specifically, during the talk, Bowser was asked about the future of handhelds and whether 3DS game development would be continuing. And he also took on questions about the durability of Switch's screens and whether there'll be a crossover between 3DS and Switch features. But really, the big takeaway seemed to be that Nintendo is not looking to sunset the 3DS anytime soon, really.
Really not at all. Although he was asked about like what Nintendo games are in development for the thing, and he didn't it was like what is he gonna say? But like it's kind of a non-committal soft answer of like there's still software being developed for the Nintendo 3DS. Mostly thought we need to talk about this because the guy's name is Bowser.
Cyber Gadget is making a keyboard for the Nintendo Switch. It's kind of cool looking. You can dock the Joy-Cons and on the left and right sides.
That's so cool.
It looks very unwieldy.
Yeah.
But is cool that you can do it. Of course, it doesn't charge your Joy-Cons while it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like it'd be super useful for something like Dragon Quest X, where it doesn't have voice chat, so you might want to be like typing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also compatible with PlayStation 4 and PC, but you obviously can't use your Joy-Cons with that.
Right. You cannot. So yeah, it's in case you need to type.
Well, I mean, it brings to mind immediately the all the like terrible Wii peripherals
for sure
that were released that like
you know what it makes me want to see a port of is Typing of the Dead.
Didn't we get one of those fairly recently? I feel like we did. I feel like, I mean, fairly recently, meaning maybe in the past like 8 years or something.
Right. Typing of the Dead, for anyone who's not not aware, not familiar, was a version of House of the Dead, which was a light gun game where words would just appear over zombies and you would have to type the word that appeared on and then you would shoot them.
Yeah, so instead of having to fire a gun, you had to type the word, and if you didn't type, it was of course teaching you to type, because if you didn't if your hands weren't on the home button,
right,
the home keys,
right, home row,
and you didn't type it fast enough, you would take damage. It's actually a really fun idea. The Cyber Gadget's keyboard is estimated for release in Japan at the end of September. No word on a Western release at this point. When Namco Museum launches, I think this month actually, it will include the option for download play.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's the first time it'll be available on the Switch.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Specifically for Pac-Man Versus, one person will need to own the game, obviously, but another Switch can download the free app, and one Switch will play as Pac-Man, and the other one, up to 3 people, can play as Ghosts. So I think it only works on local multiplayer, obviously.
Yeah. I've never played Pac-Man Versus.
I don't think I have either.
Miyamoto co-developed that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is what makes it a little bit of like a weird homecoming that this game is finally being re-released on a Nintendo platform after all these years.
I always confuse. There's a arcade Pac-Man game that's out like right now. You sit in these. It's a huge screen, and you sit in. There's like 4 stools that you sit on, and each of you are a Pac-Man inside the Pac-Man maze, and you're trying to like push each other into ghosts, or when you eat the power pellets, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
When you power up, you can eat other Pac-Man, and so you're trying to be like the last Pac-Man standing, and that's really fun. So that's what I thought this was at first, but obviously it's not that.
Last Pac-Man standing. That's that Tim Allen show that just got canceled.
Yes, for political reasons. Platinum Games posted more art on their Twitter account, just teasing Switch owners. This time with the Wonderful 101. I always just call it Wonderful 101.
That was my impression too,
yeah. Characters playing with a Switch. We talked last week about how them posting Bayonetta art led to speculation of a Switch port for those games. Something that Kamiya, the creator of both Bayonetta and Wonderful 101, obviously got sick of after the speculation, after a while because he started making fun of it on Twitter.
Well, that's also what he does on Twitter.
Yeah, if you're not following him on Twitter, he's great. Just don't include him in your crappy conversations because he will block you. He loves blocking people.
He loves blocking people, and he also loves saying that, like, I told you I was going to block you for tagging me in your crappy conversations.
But we do know that Platinum is working on something for the Switch. And both Bayonetta 2 and especially the Wonderful 101 were kind of like just they're both supposed to be really fun games that had such a tiny limited audience because they were niche of a niche of a niche.
Right.
On the Wii U.
Yeah, and there are no non-Nintendo games that sold even remotely well on the Wii U, because that's the curse of Nintendo. Is people are like, why aren't there third-party games on this thing?
Well,
and
I
they don't
think
buy them.
both of those technically are Nintendo financed.
Sure.
Yeah. But
regardless,
yeah,
still
if it didn't have Mario or like
right.
Donkey Kong on it. So maybe the Wonderful 101 port is more likely than Bayonetta, but I obviously didn't get a chance to play it, and it's supposed to be a really fun game. So I would love for it to come to Switch.
I mean, from where I'm looking, from where I'm standing, it looks like both these games are going to come at some point. That's my guess. Ask Anuma.
Unholy Knight, the Super Nintendo SNK-like fighting game developed by some ex-SNK developers, was actually released yesterday, July 10th. As Jeremy Parrish of Retronauts noted on the Retronauts website, this makes four new Super Nintendo and Super Famicom games that are releasing this month.
And that's July 2017.
Yeah. It's crazy, but also really cool.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been weird for July of 1997.
Or 2007.
Yeah.
So in addition to Unholy Knight, Pico Interactive is bringing the previously Japan-only Iron Commando and Legend, two different games, to the US and Europe. And then in Japan, Columbus Circle is releasing a game previously orphaned on the Satellaview, which is very Japanese, and I won't even try to pronounce.
Don't even attempt that one.
But that was released earlier this month as well.
Weird. What's going on?
I mean, it's just fortuitous timing that the Super Nintendo Classic Edition is coming out this fall as well. There's like this mini Super NES Renaissance.
Yeah, and also that the ROM of that Super Nintendo Rayman game was also recently dumped onto like Dropbox. Super incomplete and like barely playable, but yeah, Super Nintendo's just in the zeitgeist right now, I guess.
And it's one of my favorite consoles.
Absolutely.
So I'm all for it. We talked about its delay last week, but the big NBA Playgrounds patch players have been waiting for was released yesterday.
Hey, all right.
Version 1.1.3 includes online play and other features and fixes, including 15 new playable characters. So apparently whatever was holding it up for weeks and weeks and weeks was finally resolved.
And you can now play online, which seems like something you should have been able to do from the get-go.
WWE 2K18 is officially confirmed for Switch.
Okay.
Comes out in October on the same day as the Xbox One and PS4 versions, also confirmed to be like based on the same version as the Xbox One and PS4 versions.
That's good news.
Yeah.
I mean, we still sort of expect it to be lacking in features or something. But it's good to know it's at least that it's not like the last generation version. Not that there would be a last generation version of 2K18. But
other notable games announced for the Switch this past week include Thimbleweed Park, the indie spiritual successor to Maniac Mansion and The Secret of Monkey Island, developed by Ron Gilbert and Gary Winnick. The Longest 5 Minutes from NIS America, and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 has a release date of September 22nd in the US and Europe.
All right.
Did you like Maniac Mansion? Did you play much of it as a kid?
No, that was one of those games that was impenetrable to me as a kid, that I saw other people playing it and I was like, no, thank you. I'm going to bash my head against the wall and play Fester's Quest.
Yeah, we never had it on PC. Like, we never had a PC that would run it. So I always played the NES port and never had any idea what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't able to beat it under any circumstances, because those games I don't understand how anybody beats those games without looking at a guide.
Right.
But because it was kind of on a long timer and there were a number of different characters that you could play as, you were able to just like go into the mansion and like muck around until you got caught or ran out of time. And so it was always like I still remember my mind being blown when it was like, oh, I found a key and I can use it to open the front door and get inside the house.
Simple stuff.
So yeah, I'm excited for all these games to come to Switch, but that's definitely another indie that I will be picking up on Switch.
Thimbleweed Park.
Summer Games Done Quick wrapped up this past Saturday, raising a total of over $1.7 million for Doctors Without Borders.
That's US dollars.
Yeah.
I'm always impressed by the amount of money these guys are able to raise. Did you get to watch much more after we talked about it last week?
So there was a Link to the Past, swordless run.
Whoa.
Yeah, so using like a lot of glitches and things like that.
Yeah.
It took like an hour and 20 minutes, and it is super enjoyable. I definitely recommend. I am blanking on the name of the runner right now, but they did a really great job. And I haven't been able to check out the Earthbound one yet. I missed it live, and it haven't gone up on the Games Done Quick YouTube channel yet. But that was like the finale, so I want to check that one out.
Was there something special about it, or was it just
I think it was 100% run.
Whoa.
But I'm not entirely sure. But that's definitely something I want to check out. I love those events so much. And finally, July, a little bit of sad news. July 11th marks the 2-year anniversary of Satoru Iwata's death.
Yeah, it's a sad one. Man, I just remember when I had a hard time like communicating to like people around me why I was sad, but it was something that I feel like I felt deeply and felt in a personal way that most other celebrity deaths haven't gotten to me. So 2 years.
It's been clear it was really felt hard within like the Nintendo development community, and it's really nice to see the Switch doing well and being successful, because it was the last console that Iwata was working on.
Yeah, and the last like piece of the puzzle that he put into play was like the redemption story for Nintendo. That's nice. Mark, let's there's no way this music is going to be somber enough to carry this tone forward, but let's move on to the news. All right, that's going to do it for the first episode of this week, our news-focused episode. We're still doing this split topic kind of thing. We'll be coming back to you on Thursday to talk about the Castlevania Netflix series. We are joined by a good friend and comedian Colin J. Morris. We have a very funny conversation about it for you, and a fun time, right? It's a fun episode. So check back on Thursday for that. If you got a second, follow us on Twitter. We are at NintendoCartridgeSociety, and check out the Facebook page, which is also just Nintendo Cartridge Society. If you have any questions for us, you can send an email to NintendoCartridgeSociety@gmail.com. Also, rate and review us on iTunes, all that good stuff. If you like Mark and Mine's opinions, you can check out our writings about comic books at retconpunch.com. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can find more of 8-Bit Betty's music on his website, which is 8bitbetty.com, or by listening right now. For my co-host Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying we're all going to lose to Marina. Thanks for listening.
What's a Creative Podcast Network?